One of the hardest things about playing very rapid notes, especially staccato and legato mixed in, is keeping control, but surrendering to the spirit of the piece. So you have two things going on. One is letting go, and the other is keeping in control. And they have to be side by side. I think Horowitz used to call it fire and ice. In Hasche-Mann, and I'm still struggling with this, I must say, the way I've been approaching it is to play it legato, mostly legato first, and rather slowly. I've already got the notes, I already did all my parcels practicing, I know the fingering, I know where the accents are, what makes it characteristically Blindman's Bluff is the SFPs, the sudden bursts of accents. But what I do is I try to go slowly first and play legato. Left hand, I'm not doing legato because it's jumping around. It can't be legato. But mostly that thread of the 16th notes, because they can get very easily out of control if you get a little bit anxious. So you have to find out, as you play it, what are the most vulnerable places where your anxiety takes over and where you push the beat too much. You push in terms of a anticipatory kind of feeling instead of being in the moment. At the same time, you can be so in the moment, and this is, again, the paradox, that you're so much in control that the piece loses a certain spirit. So that those two sides of the player are always have to be compatible and in balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through this slowly and see that each time I play and I increment the speed and then eventually let go to the staccato notes, that I keep in control as much as I can in the slower tempo. So I'm going to go slow, but I'm still going to try to get all the accented notes where they're supposed to be, and feel a sense of cohesiveness. Myself very calm by doing that legato rendering mostly as much as I can with the 16ths. And then there are vulnerable places where most people, including myself, get anxious. And there are the cadences where you may be playing softer on the cadence at the end of a phrase and then leaping into a burst of energy. And you're thinking ahead to the burst of energy, you're going to get anxious. And whatever comes before it will start getting crowded. So I look at those places where I'm most vulnerable, and they're here where I do this, and I'm still doing the same thing. This jump. So you're really coming down with this blocked chord. If you block the chord, it's going here. But then you want the 4 to get this sforzando note. So this is just going to go careening down in a kind of tapering, and this is going to be suddenly igniting this sforzando. And that happens a few measures later, where he does that again. Always. So then he goes here. Now, so if you know your fingering, you're blocking half and half. Your hands are divided there. You rehearse in a lack of anxiety. You know immediately. And then then the other place, it's very interesting, where here he's in E minor. Let's see. We think he's going to go to E minor chord, but he goes to the 6th chord, which is deceptive cadence. You have to let the listener know that's a surprise. I get softer. That's what I do there. Now that's also a Neapolitan chord of B minor. The Neapolitan chords, which are the 2nd degree of the minor scale or the major scale, lowered a half step and then building a major chord going to a dominant, is what the Neapolitan does. It goes to the dominant. So if it's a C major chord and we're thinking now in B minor suddenly, it's going to be eventually going to the dominant chord where it hasn't come yet. Still going on C major, still C major, still C major. Here comes the dominant chord here. So essentially he's playing with this, which eventually is going to say, and then back to. And that's a beautiful moment because the listener thinks, again, that that's what it should be, but isn't. 6th chord, but eventually Neapolitan of another key. Here's a tonic B minor. Now those are places where you can get very anxious because of this new configuration of legato here, and then this upper voice in the treble. You can see what's happening, especially here where he goes cross. And across again, you can use your wrist forward, and then this splash of actually hold the A sharp. Now that's another place where you get anxious because that chromatic scale's driving you crazy. You have to remember to go hold that, just those 2 notes, and then go through, use a middle pedal here. That's a place where you can get real tight because the chromatic scale starts to grip you, and where it charges you forward, and you can think charging forward, but you don't want to lose control. So yeah, everything has to be spaced out. And here again, this whole piece is also about spacing the notes. So. Once you get into the staccato now, you've taken the legato away, you should think of the legato as the resting point of your nerves, that you were very calm when you played it legato. Why, when you snip it out, should you get crazy anxiety? You just don't want to. So now you want to see if you can inch this up eventually to the speed of pretty fast. Now when you go so fast, you might lose the staccato, and unfortunately that's what happens when you go too fast, but that's something you can't avoid. You can decide that I'm not going to play it as fast as I'll lose my staccato notes. So I'm going to see what I can do now in between maybe.